On my 60th birthday, I sat down at this kitchen table with a piece of paper and a pen, and I wrote a list of 5 things I was going to stop doing for the rest of my life. That was 31 years ago. The list is in the drawer next to me as I tell you this. The paper is yellow at the edges. The handwriting is mine, and it is firmer on that page than it is now. I'm 91 years old. I live alone in the same house I bought in 1959. I have not had a fall, a broken bone, or a hospital admission since the day I wrote that list. I cook my own meals. I drive to my church on Sundays. My doctor told me last spring that I am, in his words, the easiest patient he has ever had, and he has been a doctor for 41 years. I want to read you what was on the paper. I want to tell you what each one cost me, because none of them were free. And I want to tell you about the women in my family who did not stop these things and what happened to them. The 4th one is the one my husband never forgave me for. I'll get to that. But first, the first thing I stopped at 60 was saying yes to things I did not want to do. I had said yes to almost everything for 60 years. Yes to the church bake sale. Yes to babysitting on Saturday nights. Yes to driving my sister-in-law to her appointments. Yes to hosting Easter for 41 people in 1986. Yes, 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 until I could not remember the last time I had spent an evening doing what I actually wanted to do. I want to be careful here. I am not telling you to be selfish. I am telling you what I learned, which is this. A woman who has said yes for 60 years has built a life that runs on her saying yes. The people in that life are not bad. They simply do not know there is another way, and the day she stops, they will be confused, and some of them will be angry, and a few of them will stop calling. That is the cost. I paid it. But I will tell you what happens if you do not pay it. My Aunt Ramona said yes for 81 years. Yes to the niece who needed money. Yes to the brother who needed a place to stay. Yes to the grandchildren who needed a babysitter on weekends. She was tired in a way that I have never seen another human being tired. And at 81, she had a stroke at her own kitchen sink while making sandwiches for someone else's children. She died 6 months later in a nursing home, surrounded by people she had said yes to her whole life, none of whom seemed to know what to do with her, now that she could no longer say yes to them. I stopped at 60. I have said no for 31 years, not always politely, not always kindly, but I have said it, and I have meant it, and I am still here. The second thing I stopped at 60 was owning anything I could not lift myself. This sounds practical. It is. But it is also philosophical. When my mother was 73, she fell trying to drag a heavy wooden trunk up from her basement. She broke her wrist and her elbow. She never recovered her grip strength. Within 2 years, she could not turn the lid on a jar of pickles. Within 4 years, she was in a nursing home. She did not need that trunk. The trunk had been sitting in the basement for 30 years. It contained linens her mother had given her at her wedding in 1928. She was moving it because she had decided to clean the basement. She was 73 years old and she was alone. And she lifted something she should not have lifted because she had always been a woman who could lift it. I came home from her funeral in 1981 and I looked around my house. I took a hard inventory: the piano, the cedar chest, the big oak table in the dining room, the mahogany dresser my mother-in-law had given us, the case of canning jars in my own basement. I sold or gave away anything I could not lift on my own. My husband thought I had lost my mind. I had not. I was looking ahead. I have not, in 31 years, tried to lift anything that could break me. That habit is the reason I am, at 91, still bending over to put my own shoes on. The third thing I stopped at 60 was watching the news after 7 o'clock. I want to tell you why this matters. The news at 7 in 1994 was bad. The news at 7 today is also bad. The news has always been bad. The news will always be bad. That is the news. Watching it before bed for 60 years had taught my brain that the world was a frightening place at the very moment my brain most needed to calm down. I was not sleeping. I was waking up at 3 a.m. with my heart pounding about things I could not change. I was carrying the world's grief into my own bedroom every single night, like a guest I had not invited. I stopped at 60. I read a book in the evenings instead. I watched the morning news for 10 minutes after my coffee, and that is the only time of day the world is allowed in. My friend Doris did not stop. She sat in front of her television every evening from 6 p.m. until 11 p.m., until the day she had a stroke at 84. The doctor told me, gently, that her blood pressure had been climbing for years. I knew exactly when her blood pressure climbed. It climbed every night between 6 and 11. The fourth thing I stopped at 60 was apologizing to my husband for things that were not my fault. This is the one he never forgave me for. He is gone now. He has been gone for 19 years. I still believe I was right. I had apologized for 60 years. I had apologized when his mother said something cruel at Christmas. I had apologized when he could not find his keys. I had apologized when he was tired or hungry or in a bad mood, as if I were responsible for the weather inside his head. I had not noticed I was doing it until the day I turned 60, when my granddaughter said to me, "Grandma, why do you say sorry so much?" I sat down with the list that night and I added the fourth line. He was not pleased. He was not a cruel man. He was a man of his generation, and his generation had been raised to believe the woman in the house was the one who smoothed things over. When I stopped smoothing, things got rough. There were 6 months in 1995 when I thought he might leave. He did not. He adjusted. He learned to be in a bad mood without anyone apologizing for it. And to my surprise, his bad moods got shorter. I will tell you the truth. We had 9 more good years together after that adjustment. We would not have had 9 years if I had not stopped. I had been disappearing into him at the rate of a 1/4 inch a year, and at 60, I was almost gone. The woman who survives is the woman who stays a person. The fifth thing I stopped at 60 was being anywhere I did not want to be. This is the one that sounds the simplest and is, in fact, the hardest. I stopped going to funerals of people I had not seen in 20 years. I stopped attending parties out of obligation. I stopped staying for a second hour when the first hour had been enough. I stopped sitting through bad sermons, bad movies, bad dinners, and bad conversations. I am not telling you to be rude. I am telling you that your time after 60 is not infinite. And the people who outlive themselves the longest are the ones who learn to stop spending it on things they do not want. My sister-in-law Margaret never learned this. She was at every funeral, every shower, every retirement dinner, every christening, until the day she fell at her own niece's wedding reception in 2011. She broke her hip. She moved into a nursing home that December. She told me once in the last lucid conversation we had, "I wish I had stayed home more." I stayed home more. That is why I am still home. 5 things. I wrote them on a piece of paper at 60, and I have lived by them for 31 years. Stop saying yes to what you do not want. Stop owning what you cannot lift. Stop watching the news at night. Stop apologizing for what is not yours. Stop being anywhere you do not want to be. I am 91 years old. I am sitting in my kitchen. The list is in the drawer. The paper is yellow. The handwriting is mine. If you take anything from what I have told you, take a piece of paper today and write your own list. It does not have to match mine. It only has to be 5 things, and you only have to mean them. And you only have to stick to them every single day for the rest of your life. That is what kept me here. I'll see you in the next one.